Ja Oil Company indi nañ leen juice bi dàq ci juice bi nga xam ni say bokk naa ne rek tàqamte ko muy ñaari xeeti juice yoo xam ni adduna bi yëpp ràññee nañ ne moo dàq ci juice yi muy Spark ak Vitanic fruit juice high quality fresh fruit juice la nga am gan foo ko mën di dugal ci sa biir fii bu tàngee neex bu seddee neex fruit juice bi mooy juice bi ñu doon wër am na bépp flavor lu ci mel ni mango orange pineapple peach ak guava pour bégal suñuy client mooy suñu mbégte te juice bi natural fruit juice la.
Ja Oil andil na leen jaawata bii nag am nañ ko si different size marché supermarket ak table boo dem am ko fa te mun nga koo am si makkaani Ja Oil yi yépp jaawata ndox bi set na te wóor la.
soo ci bëggee wholesale wala retail demal ci bépp Ja Oil petrol station bu nekk fii ci biir Gambia ak seen boutique bi nekk ci Basse jàkkaarloog jiiti bank kon daal pour ma bëgg mbala sama njaboot bëgg Spark ak Vitanic fruit juice bi laay jënd rek ngir bëggal leen ak Ja Oil Company seen juice bu neex bii maa nga ca biir moom rek laay naan.
asalaamaaleykum wa rahmatulahi taala wa barakaatu Mbarrbi programme la woon bu dee ñëw Star TV on every Sunday di nuyu suma viewers yi Mbarrbi programme di nuyu suma naataangooy muy Pa Diagne ak Fatou Mbaye xam naa gaa ngi am yeneen engagement moo tax mënuñoo ñëw tey waaye incha allah tey suñu guest dañ am guest bu important ko xam ne Gambia kenn du ko laam-laamee ne dëgg waaye la important na si dëkk bi xam na lu moo def ba pare jàmbaari dëkk bi lion moom am na benn tur bu ko gaadee ooye waaye man dama préfère ñu ooye ko the biggest lion ever in the Gambia.
jërëjëf kontaan naa trop pour ñëw finally appear on Mbarrbi xam naa ne yàgg nañoo waxtaan pour ma ñëw waaye jot moo jafe waaye di kontaan rek si Mbarrbi programme bi ak Star TV di proprietor di management even though ñoom ñu bari saraxule lañ waaye ba tey ñu nuyu leen rek comme que jamono dem na ba saraxule am on télévision am kon ñu gërëm ñu santa président Adama Barrow tam parce que soo gisee saraxule am fit ba di defar TV nga xam ne président Barrow moo fi nekk de his peacefulness waaye di kontaan de di nuyu déglukat yi ak seetaankat yi yëpp di leen wax man tam kontaan naa pour ñëw si Mbarrbi.
I want us to discuss about the past two government and this current government for Republic. Let me just put it as Republic.
Mm-hmm.
If you are asked with your intellectual lens, like if you are asked to compare and contrast these three governments in brief.
It's a difficult question, of course, because we've existed for more than half a century. We are on the verge of celebrating 60 years of independence for a country that at its birth, some people, even some Gambians, did not believe in the viability of the republic. We'll use this opportunity to extend our condolences to the family of the late Honorable Alhaji Kalilu Singate, who was just laid to rest yesterday, a founding father of the Republic and a member of the constitutional conference that happened in Marlborough on the eve of our independence. So these were the people, Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, Hassan Musa Kamara, MC Chairman, others, who were at the Marlborough conference. But the fact is, some Gambians did not even agree for us to have independence because they did not believe that the Gambia can exist as a republic. So we say kudos to the late Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, the ultimate founding father, and his generation who worked. And I'd like to say these were not just educated in the Western sense politicians. They were chiefs, the chiefs of Kombo, were chiefs, the people like the late Sanjali Bojang, women and men who could not speak English like the educated ones, but their contributions were not no less than the men in suit and tie. Okay. So it was a collective effort. That generation, that government led by Sadauda Kairaba Jawara must be given their due respect. You must give them their flowers for being bold and courageous enough to believe that the Gambia can survive as a republic already surrounded by a bigger republic, the Republic of Senegal. And I think it's important we make this clear so that the younger generation know that we cannot take for granted the fact that there is a country called the Republic of the Gambia that has survived against many odds to come here today. I know there are comparisons of infrastructure and other issues, which we will come to, but it started somewhere. It started with the PPP and Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, who took this bold move when at the time a book was published called Enter Gambia, Birth of an Improbable Nation by Barclay Rice. So the fact that that government under Sadauda existed, survived a coup d'etat, a bloody one in 1981, that almost sent the republic on its knees. The republic came back, bounced back, and continued through the Silver Jubilee in 1990, where we hosted George W. Bush, Princess Anne, Ibrahim Badamazi Babangida, Gambia, Sanjim Wanilulu, as Jaliba would sing at the time. Proceeded to 1994, when what happened, happened. But within that period, we had the Central Bank of the Gambia Public Transport Corporation, GPTC. We had Gamtel as one of the finest public corporations in telecommunications in West Africa. I think at the time, second only to South Africa in terms of public corporations. We had the multi-party democracy thriving. That's why sometimes I feel offended when some Gambians, half-baked intellectuals who don't have the self-esteem or the historical rooting to know how great this country is, telling Gambians to learn democracy from other countries. When Sadauda was championing multi-party democracy, it was not Senegal, it was not Guinea, it was not any other country that were the rising stars of democracy. Sadauda was a champion of democracy and human rights when other countries were left far behind.
Even brought here, I think so, because of this
African Commission on Human and People's Rights, because the Gambia was a trailblazer in these things. So that government, that republic, needs to be honored, needs to be celebrated, needs to be respected despite its imperfections, because no government is perfect. Just like us as individuals, we are not perfect. We cannot expect our governments to be perfect. But the republic, the state, the nation continues as leaders, parties, and governments come and go. We entered into the July 22nd revolution in 1994 with Lieutenant A.J. Yame and his team, Edward Singate, Yankuba Toure, you name them. They took over the reins of state as young people at age 25, between 25 and 29. Tell me, you, Sidibe,
yes.
Tell me, somebody else watching me, if you became president at that age, what would you do? Will you be able to run a nation when you've never even run a family?
It was very difficult.
They had their shortcomings, human rights abuses especially. My rights were abused also. I'm a victim. But they gave us our first ever university, University of the Gambia. And I was privileged to be among the first batch of the precursor institutions called the University Extension Program. We graduated here February 16, 1999, and as Jammeh himself back then, the first time that the Gambia had a university since God created this country. That university now has produced a PhD in mathematics, a lady named Dow who just graduated in the United States of America. We have graduates in all fields, Gambian students trained at the University of the Gambia.
Give applause to Jammeh then.
But that's why I'm saying it. And unlike many people, I'm not afraid of doing that. I've done that consistently. We must commend him for giving us our first university, our first TV, and many other things that happened under his reign, despite the shortcomings.
Just to maybe throw light on that. During our time, me as a kid then, we just had that TV is coming, it's in the pipeline, university is coming, it's in the pipeline, but thank God with Yaya Jammeh, everything was...
It happened.
It happened.
It happened. So the APRC government brought us that. We hosted the African Union Summit during that tenure. We've punched way above our weight in terms of international diplomacy and politics all over the world. A lot has been achieved. Expansion of education, construction of schools, health centers, roads, water facilities, rural electrification. A lot of it happened under President Jammeh as well. So that government also deserves recognition, even though we'll have to speak the facts as they are. The human rights abuses really tainted that second republic, which we are still in anyway, because we've not birthed a new constitution yet. Some people will say we are in the third republic. No, we have a third government.
Lay people like me say we are in the third republic.
We are not yet in the third republic because we are on the verge of it. Okay. But Sadara's government came, did what they could, they left. Jammeh's government came, did what they could do, left. And God brought in President Adama Hino Cairo Balwa. That is the generation we are in now, and the government and the republic continues to date with a leadership, with a temperament, an approach to democracy, respect for human and people's rights, respect for freedom of speech, freedom of association that Gambians had yearned for over the era of the Jammeh era. President Barrow brought that us, and to date sticks to those fundamental principles of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of media that birthed television institutions like Star TV, like QTV, 1,001 radio. Even Sarahulis now have their own radio stations because Barrow has decided to stick by the principles that brought him into power. Gambians yearned for respect for human rights. They yearn for freedom of speech. They yearn for freedom of the press. They yearn for freedom of association without fetters. President Barrow has delivered beyond expectation in terms of that. But beyond that, he's given us roads and bridges like no other government ever did. He's given us international recognition like we've never heard. Gambia has become the darling of the world, and we are currently the chairperson of the OIC. I will not let you to intervene because when I was mentioning the achievements of the other governments, you allowed me to flow. I have to mention my president's achievements also.
There's one thing I want to
yes.
I want to ask you so that you can browse it along so that it will not take your time.
Yes.
You don't have that much time.
Yes.
I may consume your time.
Yes.
I just want you to some of the achievement, like you mentioned 3 achievements for the First Republic, and the Second Republic, and the one that is coming that we are intending to, like the third one. But people don't know. Me, I don't know. It's not yet.
Well, the Republic has not come here, but the government is here, so it's the same at some level.
There's only 3 biggest achievements that nobody can say no. But to me, if I'm asked to say that, one, for Jawara, first bringing us to a republic,
yes,
as a nation,
yes,
a big achievement.
It is a huge one.
There are many hindrances.
Yes.
Many hindrances. People
Yes.
like me, as a layman, who say, you want to Jawara, the phone and go to Bekela Bankoti. Can no Jawara, when you need the new never feed Deka, because of you mentioned some of the factors, like people like the illiterates, or there were not that much literacy then. Like today, you can say you are a PhD holder, this guy is a master's holder, this guy is a BSc holder. Then, the highest achievement that they have in education was what?
Well, we didn't do well in you mean like during the Jawara era. In terms of education, we had high schools, we had a college and A levels. There was not much. Jammeh era brought us higher education like we've never had. Yeah. And now we have, when Jammeh was living, we had University of the Gambia. Now we have the University of Science and Technology. And other universities are coming up, including the proliferation of lots of private universities in this country as well.
Sure.
And this government, in terms of further expanding access to education from Katong to Bolibana, where we've found well, Bolibana is beyond Koina. In Gambia you say Koina to Katong.
I know, people like me, I think that Koina is the last.
Well, there are settlements beyond Koina, and one of them is Bolibanda, at the very edge of the border.
I think we have been there.
Yes, where President Barrow inaugurated brand new classroom blocks, story buildings with computer labs, and expanded electricity right into Bolibanda. What has happened in terms of rural electrification under President Barrow has never happened. Access to water, access to education, access to health facilities, brand new health facilities in Badibu Salikenye, in Tumanna, Kantora, in Mankamankunda, even in Kiang. Can you imagine? Even Kiang.
Why are you putting?
Because Kiang is very remote, and they are also one of my favorite people. I'm sure Dr. Samate will come after me after this one. But what happened there is, when these buildings and the facilities within these buildings hit social media, one professor reached out to me and said, this is the best you can get anywhere in the world. And beyond the construction of these health facilities and provision of health professionals to serve the public, because after the inauguration, I made a tour. I recently went to Badibu Sali, Kenya, and I found that the health facility is fully operational. But the fact that these health facilities were named after Gambians who happen to have been among the founding fathers. The Sali Kenya Hospital is named after Sirif Mustafa Adiba. The Kantora one is named after Hassan Musa Kamara. Both are former vice presidents. Shows the level of honor and respect that President Barrow, who happens to be our president at 60, bi'idhnillah, he is never forgotten about the foundation of the republic.
Why he did not name it after one of the ministers of the current president?
So that's why I'm saying this is the vision of the president and the honor and the respect that he has for the past, that he knows that he is in charge, he is the president, but there are people who built the foundation, so he is giving back to that generation, which is one of the most commendable things I think he has done.
Thank you very much. There's another question that I want you to maybe look in. I always say in your intellectual goggles, you have to look into that very well and tell us what you've seen. So during Jawara's time and during Jammeh's time and of recent, what are the difference of the commodities that Gambian consume, the one that we are imported? Can you different like 10% of Jawara then? Will it survive maybe Jammeh's regime or like Barrow's regime?
Well,
of commodities that come in the Gambia.
The point is, when we talk about these issues, comparing different generations, we need to be careful and realistic. In fact, there is somebody who does some commentaries comparing the Jawara era to the current era. They call it old man musing, but I think it's old man confusing, because he's trying to confuse the people, and you cannot. If you're talking about the level of imports into the Gambia in 1970, you want to compare that to the level of imports in the Gambia in 2024, and you expect them to be the same? I mean, you are joking. You are not a serious person.
As a layman like me, I say,
no, it's not. Okay. You know, if you look at the dietary history of the country, do you know that from what I know, it's only in the 70s that rice started to become a staple food in this country. Yes. We were not eating rice at the time. And how did it happen? I understand there was some drought, some food security challenges that brought in rice as gifts. Before you know it, our dietary plans have changed. So one, the population was much smaller. I think I can hazard a guess and say that our population was 10% of what it is today. So if you expect the level of imports to be the same, you are making a mistake. That is one, in terms of the sheer population size. The other one is, in terms of global trade, how easily goods and services move now, where you have even air freight. It's easier to import things now than before. Two, in terms of even the geography and climate change, access to farms, the reliability of rains, back then was much better than now, because we've depleted our environment. So our need for importation of food is bigger now, in terms of immigration as well. The amount of people coming into the Gambia now is much higher than the amount of people coming then. So naturally, what we will import to live on would be much bigger right now than what was happening that some 40, 45 years ago.
Just to address on that, like if it is now, like the amount of rice that is coming in the Gambia right now, hadn't been it was Jawara era, we will consume that maybe a year.
What are you talking of here? We'll consume it for 5 to 10 years, because the population sizes and other factors are much different. How people live now, what people consume is completely different from what it was 40 years ago. The world is evolving. Even in America, what people are consuming now is different from what they were consuming 40 years ago. The world has changed. Now, even in the villages, you have supermarkets. Even in Kiang, you have mini markets in some of their towns. The world has changed. Ngana mol lonne. Itol balu nyari mol ta mankili. Subani Kiang supermarket obi jele sai. Dunia le falinta sai. Mol la domor fangol falinta, domor nyal falinta, mol la jata kende a fangol falinta sai. Al-halul falintale manke kilinti. Yes.
That's great. To me, it is coming up. It's coming up. Like our viewers, this is Honorable Momo Savali on Mbarrbi program. We are discussing about some of the things that we may think will take us forward. But as for us, we are asking him about to compare and contrast between our three republics. But according to, he's an intellectual. Me, I'm not an intellectual. It's not yet third republic. It's two republics that we have at the moment, first and second.
So we compare the governments. Yes. First government, second government, and third government. Yes.
So that's what we want him to help us as an intellectual. I think you are an economist.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so economic-wise, you at least highlight some of the economics idea then and before and now.
Well, the Gambian economy has evolved over time. Of course, like I said before, when it comes to population size, global trade, communication, things are much bigger and faster now than before. But I think the Jawara era did very well with the economy post independence up to 1983-84. That is when we started having challenges in terms of debt service and other issues, fiscal challenges, and the IMF had to come in for an economic recovery program. That was in the mid-80s. When that happened, people were retrenched. Some government officials had to be fired, so that government can reduce its expenditure, be able to service its debt and stabilize the economy. In fact, my mother was retrenched. She was a cleaner then in one of the government departments. So these are real things that we saw. So the Gambia, economic recovery can be very challenging. But from what I know in terms of economic history and macroeconomic analysis, which I'm well grounded in, mashallah, Gambia's economic recovery program was a success. Under Sadauda Kairaba Jawara, I think the finance minister at the time, at least Shirif Sekuba Sise, is one of the top economists at the time who handled this. So the economy was really stabilized, and then we moved on, of course, until the Jame era. The Jame era saw also some economic challenges, at least around the mid-2000s, when we have the dollar depreciating very fast. And government has to take some steps to restabilize the economy. Jame did some, as usual, he was a soldier. He made some decrees to peg the dollar's exchange rate, and those things, they don't work. He came up with Operation No Compromise, but all of those things in the long term, they are firefighting solutions. They don't significant long-term solutions. But then what happened at some point, we did not go through an economic recovery program like Sadauda did, but government had to jack up the treasury bill rate. This was under Famara Jata, who was fired as finance minister, and he later came into the central bank as governor. And we were there as economists. For the first time, the interest rate, the treasury bill rate, was raised up to more than 30%. So that restored confidence in the dollar. I remember there was a time when even people would call from Europe and America, they want to change their dollars and pounds into dollars so that they can invest in treasury bills to make interest. That happened. That helped restore this economy, but at a very huge cost, because a lot of what we are talking about, this domestic debt, was built. It convoluted during that period, because if you are borrowing money from the public at a very high interest rate, then your debt profile would increase. So those things happened until this, the economy stabilized later, but I think by the time this government came in, the debt levels were significantly high. So this government had to come in. There were a lot of wild allegations and counter allegations. I don't want to go through that. What I said at the time was this government did not inherit a failed state. It was not a failed state. It was a republic intact despite its challenges. So this government came in, and like I said, we were blessed to have a leader like President Adama Barrow, who was very calm and measured, had the right temperament to make sure the transition happens in an orderly manner. This government came in despite the challenge. There were serious financial and economic challenges, to be honest, but they were able to handle it smoothly. so that the economy moved on, and we've not had the kind of galloping inflation that countries like Ghana and Nigeria are dealing with now. 30-40%. It never happened here, even though it did go to the higher teens as of 2021, 2022. But the government has done its best. And it's quite commendable, let me learn, that this government today has a stable economy. Inflation just about 10%. The policy rate for the Monetary Policy Committee is about 17%. And these things, they all have significant ramifications on the economy. I just read a press release from the European Union that they're giving the Gambia government more than $700 million to support the government, because of they believe that the government is implementing the right macroeconomic and financial management policies, and they believe that our budget process is very transparent and credible. That's a huge feather in the cap of President Barrow's administration, despite all the noise that's happening. Much applauded, definitely, because I've heard over the past couple of weeks several pseudo-economists, and I'm calling them pseudo-economists because they are not economists. They never worked as economists, just making noise. I'm saying there are some people who claim to be economists and they are not economists. Those were the ones trying to portray this government as if everything that the government is doing about the economy is wrong. They said this a couple of weeks ago. Today, the European Union, with their experts and knowledge and experience, are saying, bravo, President Barrow, you are doing well. We are giving you almost $1 billion. Is due to the credible, transparent, and responsible macroeconomic and financial management policies that your government is implementing. So that is really commendable. Because look, people must not forget easily, and that's why I like to make reference to history. 2016-17, the kind of statements that were being made, even by the coalition government, is about this economy. One would have thought that our economy would have collapsed. But the government was able to sail through that to this level where the IMF just recently gave us how many billion in terms of support, and it's based on good policy. EU giving us this much money based on good policy. So this government needs to be commended.
Not based on their interest.
Well, you know, international relations is based on interest.
Okay.
But look, if I am going to bring my money into your company, if I am bringing my money into your company, it's not for free. But if I know that your company is collapsing financially, would I invest my money there?
Never.
So this government is implementing good macroeconomic and financial management policy, and that's why it has earned, and listen to that word, earned, deserved the trust and confidence of the international financial system and donor institutions to come and say, hey, we want to work with you. Bravo, President Barrow and his team. Yes.
Maybe this will be the last correction for today. For these three presidency, now let me just use presidency. Each of them have a line of concentration on the development. I don't know, let me just put it again so that you can understand very well. But I know you are intellectual, you may understand my question. Left me for a time, or Luma of mine. Yet the president, yet, Kuneka Amafum Jublu for development. Can you identify some of them? Like Jawara Fanda concentration on development, Jamia Fanda concentration on development, and the current president Fanda concentration on development.
Okay. If you ask me briefly, I think Sadauda must have had Mom Bossa Morgan on a meti parce que réew mo amuton in terms of a republic. Loolu lañu sanca wara establish GOR di sampa Central Bank, Boss Service GPTC, Gamtel, veterinary ak yeneen yi nga xam ne réew war na koo soxla isil ñu sax suñ fos xaalis xam nga loolu liggéey boobu yombut. Why in terms of infrastructure Sadauda lim liggéey bariwut te mënuñ ko see ngaaña like I said moom dafa ñëw gor sanca bi waaye leena lim fi sampa di nga xam ne am na solo comme infrastructure amay solo mooy démocratie, human rights, freedom of speech, freedom of association. Le président Barrow ba tey def day wax ne su démocratie ak jaama amutee development mënuta am kon gàcce ngalaama Sadauda. It was not a perfect government ben nguur mutut Yaya Jammeh ñëw infrastructure moom moo ko fi door rapid infrastructural development in terms of roads, in terms of schools, in terms of health facilities. Lim si def nguuri Sadauda defu ko waaye nag comme ni ma ko waxee amoon na ay nit ñi nga xam ne neexut leen woon in terms of Sir Dawda lim si baay in terms of freedom of speech, freedom of association ak yooyu loolu amoon nañ si dellu gannaaw to be fair waaye post that President Barrow ñëw Jammeh def na fi infrastructure Sir Dawda def na Jammeh dab ko Jammeh lim def si infrastructure man si lu ma gis xam Sir Dawda defu ko waaye President Barrow tam lim fi def si infrastructure Jammeh tam defut loolu in terms of roads almost the entire URR was neglected léegi the roads and bridges in Kantora in Wulli my brother Lamin Koto Pasimas roads and bridges in Badibo di Sabah Sanjar Roop Road te fii nag si jamono président foo gis yoon rek gis nga fa courant lim def si yooyu di Basse Bridge di Fatoto Bridge Kabada right now lim nekk di fa def ñaani ya lu fa président Barrow ne even Kiyang waa Kiyang musu ñoo xam godoron dama waa li ma wax dëgg la yow dem nga fa sampal na leen lopitaan godoron buy dugga Kiyang West waa Kiyang musu ñoo xalaat loolu lopitaan ang fa like I said foo gis yoon rek gis nga fa courant soo ñëwee in terms of West Coast Road this Battle Harding Highway président Barrow nag suma boss foog ma salute ko fi ma gisee Sénégalais ñëw di jël vidéo of ñun suñ yoon di laaj Sénégal réew mu tuuti ni Gambie lu tax ñun amuñ lii and it's not a toll road Sénégal seen yoon yu mag yu ees yëpp dañ lay charge pour nga dawal fa moto naam bii mu ngi nii fii free nga dem su ñu airport terminal building ni VVIP di conference center 23 megawatt solar power plant in Jambour clean energy foofu la aduna bi di demee fu mu nekk ni waxatuñ fi generator li xew si yooyu biir Kanifing biir Josuwang yooyu ñu ñooy defar biir Bijilo biir Sukuta président lim defar si yoon kenn mënu koo xayma moo tax si TikTok account bi dañ fa dee nekk sometimes booy dañ ko dee ooyee léegi borom roads and bridges te loolu lu am solo la. non am nga ku nekk ak sa title Babili moom waaye moom tam xam na moom tam. bridge bi nga xam ne defar nañ ko si géej Babili def na bosam président Barrow mu ngi def yeneen. te yu moo def si tam dina bari waaye fi ma bugg a yaatalee waxtaan bi mooy am na ñoo xam ne suñ ne defar nañ yoon ñu ne yoon kenn du ko lekka waaye fàtte ne li ñoo lekka fiñ koo jiyee dinañ soxla yoon pour dem fa li ñoo lekka fuñ koo jiyee bañ ñor soxla nañ yoon pour yóbbu ko si marché bi yoon fu mu romba workshop ang fa garage ang fa tailoring shop ang fa fuel station mu ngi fa yoon fu mu dem rek fuel station mu ngi fa si di be loolu laa waa loolu yëpp development la fuel station yooyu garage yooyu tailoring station yooyu ay Gambians la ñoo employ ñooñu ñu liggéey yoon fu mu yokkoo rek koom-koom économie bi yokku na comme lu xew in America soo demee si taarix America luñ dee waaye Keynesian macroeconomics boobu beneen programme lañ ko waxtaanee parce que saraxule duñ mën a understand suma technical jargon si non waaye saraxule congratulate naa leen tam ne am nañ télé léegi waaw bu ma tooñ ki yankay waaye léegi soo checkee di history of America seen président bu ñëwee Franklin D. Roosevelt lum defar si America si yoon roads and bridges electrical infrastructure loolu moo def di foundation of what America is today yoon dafa am solo pour jokkoo pour trade pour lu nekka wér gi yaram lu nekka la dee affect di externality si nga xam ne njëriñ bu yoon di isi si économie kenn mënu koo xayma moo dama ne président Barrow mooy di FDR of the Gambia te incidentally that Franklin D. Roosevelt is the only sitting American president bu ñëw visit si America kon président Barrow lim def compare to the past doo leen mun a compare gërëm nañ sant nañ Sir Dawda for the foundation Jammeh for the university and where he went waaye président Barrow level bu moo punch nii boobu historians rek ko mun a analyse properly te doorangut parce que mu ne tànkam baa ngi si accélère bi moom du bàyyi.
waaw ba léegi kon jéem a ñambaas orega yi dégg naa ñu ñambaas yaaxul mala
waaw dégg naa la ka bi waaw
man su nekkoon exemple tey dañ ñëwaat pour ma advice président Barrow ñu leen tey président Barrow on after lii lan la war a jëblu pour because fu mu ne daanaka almost connection yi dëkk because lu mu nga def si suma xalaat laa nekk ni waa mooy connecta mu dëkk yi from de may bi bu ñëwaat si beneen jéego si jubluwaay développement am Jammeh dafa jubluwoon si développement yi comme like lu fi amutoon mu indi ko fi Jammeh maa ngi laa déglu
maa ngi laa déglu
mooy like university mention nga yu bëri yoo xam ne amutoon fi Jammeh indi na ko Barrow tamit mention nga yoo xam ne amutoon fi ak indi na ko Jawara tamit mention nga loo xam ne boobu gën a si man mooy kii because nga ñëw fekk àll nga ne dama fi bëgg a dëkka xamuloo ndaay bukki yang fa no yang fa so many things comme moom mi lafta sound du laa doo ndepota yaa lafta katara du laa doo ñine yena ye teyro ke ye pour jama ki je yana wo kole ata baake jani ye korda soro je korda kini ya lo mo pro ba Jawara korda jama lo jam Jammeh fan ay korda jama lo jam so say na ñing preso mi be sirinte korda ay min lo abe siakane bari naboda ñing sila dada ñing kuran ñing jio abe focus le mentor mi abe
ya long
wala be kala the next level mi ago ala focus le tar la jere
ya long sila dada wananate banna
wodene te balla
ka to ni ngay ñinen ka ila moy e defa nga be serinda me solo to silo la jele
baake
so sila dada wananate banna wala na president ko ata singo bondila accéléré to so because do ko men nyanta kala man sakilinta banna no so president wala nate sila faka foko ngamende da silo to wara kuran to ate banna bare kudol le bije men yalon ko fanan kumayata men yalon ko mol nya bukaje dol bije wala nyin mol la nyanto bunya democracy human rights freedom of association freedom ni man sakunda do be jano tete nasilante la office kan interview te mira la fan nto nya fam fania adun hadama dingol ila miraro anila kuma kango o fanan kumayata jamano la nyato ta tole kos hakilo wala ka banko samba menu be ke kanka mol makoy in terms of social protection musu konomal funding kewol kodol membe dike ka agriculture ta ka transform de mbasaba la ministry koto nyin sango men tambita million keme million mwani lule wala ta ya talent senelal tema agriculture farming poultry ka di alal falla fara me don toyla nim ko banko e ta nyaato fon sen kono marano ebe importation fokan no jabara la jamano fokana fona president Barrow la miralo anin saying nkambalu men nam fongo sa do ku nga domo jang asen na foreign exchange save nye bari fanan jata kende ate sabati kadi kam mbondi nam banta ade da nyaay malong simfal tata wotol me ya lon ko fang nga kuwol jeje me ye nyafa ja oil la nying rice field membe CRR already ati na mano da jita wol mukko kilinde si se malayandi dulal be kerin jang si se ntata dame ngame ko si se wuli tan sabale be je anim feng Gambia funding kewoleng musol la gani nol be yiri wa kan ni nata fan football of la karola menketa jang Gambia ta Cup of Nation jumala samana president Barrow la jamano leng o fana manke nyato tati bang ka college ta ka bondi Gambia ka college samba fu basse jumale oke president Barrow la jamano leng sola miligrade wala be sandu dula dol bi je nawe kala kuranga te futala noje man sakunda e miraro ke ko ndol membe kapira roto jang nka kuranga soto nyama ni jisuma menu be santo e fana mu Gambia dingol de kana mo lejo wo ferol be tamandi kan nyen kuwol bele bu ka finti no nyola wala na dol bi je president Barola development da menke kan pour ka understand ka fahamba ke fang abe wato do talale president Barrow be mira kam menna digital infrastructure membe caring ye do ku bundale yele Gambia Information Communication Telecommunication Agency GICTA abe banko kanja meyo to nyato ya Professor Abdou Karim Diallo tenured professor from the United States of America cause dunia bita kanya men digital wallem president be aussi lol walan kan Gambia funding ke wolle pour na soma ase nyinya katambi bila do ko membe keri nta be folo no interview kilin to be ko mandila ko tanke
ndefo pastor nene ngaji ni ka kula ndenate ka chako bo yi haji ni ka wele yo dige munema sidi be lena la la ku ñew after man amna problème
moy diga
munema gis nga ni mele wale ya jame mo debli koku bossa moy gëna gara
moy diga
koku moy gëna am question to answer
lim wax lolu moy diga parce que liggéey
léegi dama ko wara waxtane lolu naka la ko mëna gisé comme kuy ñew after am na problème
no because dinala wax man when I was director general GRTS defon na fi development caravan brand a boss 3 days pour ñu wor rew mi won nit ñi ya jame liggéey ma buga ko defaat ma dem North Bank ma foog ne dinaa mën a def North Bank one day ma gis ne North Bank na ma jël more than 3 days bima defoon time jame réew mi yëpp 3 days bi North Bank rek na ma jël more than 3 days si li ma gis si yoon from Hakalang Road di Kerewan Jawara Road di Kerewan Health Center di Governor's Office and residence bu nekk Kerewan si boppam musuta am Sabah Sanjal roads di electricity in Sabah Sanjal fu mu nekk ni ñu ngi tasaare ay gaali napekaay with brand new nets and brand new engine loolu is all over the country keroog dama ne haramat laal tuuti West Coast ñaari project la visit rek mu jël di whole day di mega hospital at Farato bi nga xam ne loolu foog naa si sub-region bi sax musuñoo am façon hospital boobu di solar power plant USET campus bi ñoo build in Brikama that day la ma governor wax ne sax foo ñi day seen another loop road fa président di liggéey dugangulo LRR the roads in Kabada, the roads in Kiang, the OMVG grid stations, Nyanija, Kurang ak ndox, so demee URR. I mean, in terms of agriculture, gata yi fu ñoo naan ak yooyu yaatu na ba léegi dégg naa ne sax nag yeeg xar yi dañ dee cross border bi from Senegal pour ñëw naaw fii moo tax bi ñu ma waxee loolu ma ne léegi even the cows are happy dañ dee wax the youths are happy but now even the cows are happy so kenn mënu koo xayma li moo def si liggéey.
Mbarrbi programme noonu ñoo ñëw seet si honorable Sabally pour ñu waxtaan si daanaka ñun ñetti président amoon fii nii ñu waxtaan si suñu kaa ñëw lu mu def ak ku fi nekkoon ak ku fi nekk léegi waaye si suma gis-gis ñoom ñëpp def ne wonders amul kenn ku si xaw a dégg bi daal yi jumte yu amoon la rek si bu passé ni te loolu doomu adama la te doomu adama moom ni ko mooñaale mooy ne day def mistake ak sa ndaw boo demee comme ni buñ laajtee naka si ngaate mu ne su nekkoon ne tey moo nekkoon démba mistake yu gars yi def duñ ko doon def te am naa gom-gom boobu noonu ñun ñëpp suñ taay xale am nañ jumte yoo xam ne def nañ ko tey suñu waxoon ñu delluwaat xale may bi loolu duñ ko defaat moo tax léegi ngay gis kenn ko waaye man su ma xamoon ni ma doon jàngal lii laa doon jàngal loolu moo ko waral façon mistake yooyu moo xam loolu mën nañ leen koo jéggale noonu ñu xam ne doomu adama gis naa ñu ne yeneen réew yoo xam ne mistake yi fa am moo ko yu am Gambie sax te jéggal nañ ñu bala nañ leen te loolu Mbarrbi programme daal dina ñëw tàggatoo ñu wax honorable tamit ñëw tàggatoo may bi comme du gars yi wax ñu ne lu duuf si ndawal yëpp du dee xëy si ceeb bi xam nga loolu naka lay fay waaye si soos mun ngaa tàggatoo nga ñambaas tuuti si sa some of the analyse nga tàggoo ñu dem ba beneen
jërëjëf di gërëm di sant rek waa déglukat yi mbe mbaɗigol be konton na jibir laal katandi ko de alhamdulillah mbe sewori mbake mfananga opportunity pour kana Mbarrbi katu ngamira sainde afanang is one of the most watched programs now Gambia television also nasara kulol ndingol haji bani ko sisoho alpha karaga ni na timo be ngeten tunge jayi and the entire panel at Mbarrbi especially nak mfangola mo pa jan the youths are happy banko la kuombe wala fokan ko president ngol katale kana bar banko bi janne the Republic of the Gambia ko sada do kayra ba jawara nyol wala selo tey enim fama di late kaliru singata nyol me alon ko kunun ronem bota landila ladula be duwala alay ne manin kafal ka tala Sirif Mustafa di banan tara San Musa Kamara nyol ani nyongala ni nyol men lata ko Gambia se kino banko ti la ko banko dolbe nyameng ko kabringa bengo be kala Marlborough House Gambia dingol bebe dolbi jele wol ko Gambia manyana kala Republic ti woto menu lata nyin ko le pareta tambita ko nyala fonse tentunge jayi yela kato dango kele eto le na Central Bank dinna eto le Gambia fansum kodo di ala se symbol of sovereignty di dalasi eto le GPTC dinna Gambia Public Transport Corporation Gamtel anin doku la jamal men yalon ko aman soto nun jang yese lo le te ko amandia akole atale
anu la
karango man jam fanu wato bar mol hamo warata ilate la banko le e pareta pour kabata la banko e nko menu yake amanke menu ka nekta yo city drone ka angale kan fo na kombo sefol bijele la katako warata je na ya kombidol bijele musul men yalon ke man angale kan moy an kan mira wati ran bama be diamola na e political la kumo fa ka fo na wato membita self comment independent ba ngabe independence and self government o fananketa referendum moltino wato na nyin na ko tata musul marseto musul ifane la kato dango kejele ntata coup d'état keta 81 ala yen ko kanandi sa dawda continue ta 1992 for 94 ala nata la maralo dang ya jamme nata ala maralo koleyata mol kumbota bara telen na university follow dinna na television follow ay silol deda ay karamungol deda nga fanan tentu nga jayi hadama dingo buka timma sako hadama dingol kafuta ye mansa kunda mel londi mbewo kono 2016-17 ala president Barrow samanang alhamdulillah ahinata molma ay democracy bunya ay mulla nyanto di la freedom of speech, freedom of association anin ku jamal freedom of the press ay do ko wadati ka silol deda min yalon ko ina man deda ka jiyol dundi dulal to men nana masoto ka kurangol dundi dulal to hani kiyan sa ay kurango bi jenko president Barrow le yake manasilo president jaliba na halom bari mun tol ngam no soro junale bari sa am badi bu fango de na ma sama sanjal ngam men soro je de nana man hilla ko ba soro la bari bu le mano soro kiyang nyaara to kiyang wesa neng silo dun taje lopitano bi je fanan nyani ja LRR Kabada roads and bridges in URR President Barrow la nyaton kayale wo be sotata nyang OIC road me yalon ka keta nyon tawati tundo la jang anana manke President Barrow na take OIC be la chairman ti wo President Barrow kiringo wo ele lopitano lo world class state of the art hospitals tumannata ayatola Hassan Musa Kamara sali kenyata atola stala Sheriff Mustafa Dibala alama ne man kafar kele ngoto president Barrow amanyina ko man sakunda dole be jande jannate tabina wala nyaton kul aye bunya aye horoma ako banku doku continue ko woleng bara parita ka ku ke me yalon kanana manke adunga ya kele fa parita ako ata singo bondila accéléré kan woto Gambia banku nga waleje ko na jalol ka fonu nya Gambia kunu mana bi ma be nyaadi yiri wa ketal de Cairo be sabatiring woto nga dengo yiri wa nin Cairo nga sabatindi nga president nga bulano ma NPP le carte o faya e bari mbella president mo de e sonta e manso la president walen adu ngate sonta fana ka ke mobile president mate amanke president men sa fu moy men man carte o fay yiri wa te talalia hani anana ma fo woto ni ala yin kayra modinna akitan na nyato ga hinata molma nga mutafe ni nga mutafe nga mutam fangal fe katu Gambia banko mbe danta wala adu mantadu la do so Gambia kola woto mbe exactly mbe mol konton na independent wala men kana sanji taworo inshallah February mbe duwala nga ke kayro kono ay bank kayro kono mbe duwala nga kafu president ngo celebration oke nga kafu president wala banko la kayro na la tank ngo anala yiriwa mbe yo doku wala mbe wati mbe bar mi fanang bal tentura bal jay la baraka the youths are happy.
We are very much lucky today pour ñu am honorable Sabally xamna am ko yombut parce que topana ko lu mot légui mu mot weer yu bari de du beeram weer ñaari weer ñetti weer topana ko lu bari pour ñu am ko way yalla def na tay although mu ngi with all his busy schedule jox nañu this little time bu mu am waste den time di apologize lolu non honorable for that for wasting your time bol comme noko waxe rek liggéey rew mi la nañ join the current government ñu ñep because dëkk bi suñ dëkk la su baaxee suñ dëkk la su bonee suñ dëkk la waaye yàlla ñu ñëpp ñu am benn jubluwaay bi pour ñu baaxal réew mi pour ñu liggéey réew mi jërëjëf Mbarrbi programme
Jah Oil Company indil nañ leen juice bi dàq ci juice bi nga xam ni say bokko naane rek tàqamte ko muy ñaari xeeti juice yoo xam ni adduna bi yëpp ràññee nañ ne moo dàq ci juice yi muy Spark ak Vitanic fruit juice high quality fresh fruit juice la nga am gan foo ko mën di dugal ci sa biir fri bu tàngee neex bu seddee neex fruit juice bi mooy juice bi ñu doon wër am na bépp flavor lu ci mel ni mango orange pineapple peach ak guava pour bégal suñuy client mooy suñu mbégte te juice bi natural fruit juice la.
Jah Oil na leen jaawata bii nag am nañ ko si different size marché supermarket ak table boo dem am ko fa te mu nga ko am si makkaani Jah Oil yi yépp jaawata ndox bi set na te wóor la.
soo ci bëggee wholesale wala retail demal ci bépp Jah Oil petrol station bu nekk fii ci biir Gambia ak seen boutique bi nekk ci Basse jàkkaarloog jiiti bank kon daal pour ma bëgg mbala sama njaboot bëgg Spark ak Vitanic fruit juice bi laay jënd rek ngir bëggal leen ak Jah Oil Company seen juice bu neex bii maa nga ca biir moom rek laay naan.